Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video. And in this video, I'm going to start it off with an article on newsmedical.net titled, Chemical Found in Widely Used Sweetener Breaks Up DNA. And this is just another example of the wicked practices on this planet due to the wicked rulers of the planet right now, the biblical Edomites, or these so-called white people, who, ever since they came into this little season of their final rulership, beginning with the Renaissance, have just made the conditions on this earth worse and worse. But now I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 24. I'm going to start at verse 4. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. And I'm going to get that word languisheth in the Strongs, which is H535, amal. And it says in the outline of biblical usage, to be weak, to droop, to languish, to be exhausted, to be weak, to grow feeble. And under the rulership of this devil, this Edomite, the earth has become wicked. The people on the earth have become wicked, and the earth has become weak and feeble. You've got environmental disasters taking place, animals going extinct, and just this planet in a complete uproar. And then, as we're about to get into with that article, all these different chemicals and manufacturing practices that this Edomite uses destroys the people on this planet as well as the environment, causing the earth to languish. And as it says, the haughty people, the proud people of the earth do languish. This Edomite has again made the people on this planet wicked and proud, and they're languishing under his rulership, as well as these Edomites languishing under their own rulership. This planet is definitely in need of new management. Verse 5, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Through these wicked philosophies getting pushed out here, like feminism, the alphabet group beginning with LG, democracy, capitalism, socialism, communism, as well as spraying chemtrails into the sky, polluting the oceans, causing marine life to beach themselves on these shores and kill themselves because they can't deal with it. Lands getting strip mined for their resources, GMO foods, toxic chemicals breaking down people's DNAs. The list goes on and on. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. This Edomite does everything clean contrary to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai in the scriptures, hence why this planet and the people in it are in this chaotic state that they're in. And before anybody says, oh, well, it's everybody's fault. You can't just blame one group of people for this planet being in the state that it's in. Hey, well, let's see who's in control of the planet right now, just to put that argument to rest. This is Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, which they did during the Renaissance with iconoclasm, making themselves look like the Most High and his Son, as well as the apostles, the prophets, the angels, and the Israelites. If not, where and who is he? But as it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And let's see who the wicked is, as pursuant to Malachi 1 verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places, which is what they did when they came back into power during the Renaissance, which means the rebirth of Edomites being in control. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. Hey, these Edomites had this little season to rule, but the Most High is systematically taking down their rulership globally. Their birth rates are declining. Their prestige and image that they used to have in society is declining. And their economies are on the verge of collapse. They're facing a nuclear-armed World War III. They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, meaning wherever you set up your border, wickedness follows. And what did it say back in Job 9, verse 24? The earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. And so this earth is engulfed in the wickedness of the Edomites who transgress the laws, don't follow the ordinances, and have broken the everlasting covenants. And the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever, you Edomites, are the perpetual enemy of the Most High. And when we go to Genesis chapter 27, what does it say Esau's blessing was? To gain the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above, being in control of the planet for a little season, the earth being given into the hands of the wicked. So we can't get around the fact that you Edomites are the wicked according to the scriptures. You are the wicked that has turned this planet upside down and made it into a wilderness out here. This is Psalms chapter 82. I'm going to read verses 4 to 5. Deliver the poor and the needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wickedness. And we know who the wicked is as pursuant to Malachi 1 verse 4. And the poor and the needy are speaking of the Israelites, known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today, who are the main target of you Edomites, with all your different practices and ideologies you push out here to take us away from our power as much as you can so you can continue your wicked rulership, because you know that when the Israelites aren't following after their power, hey, they're at the mercy of the heathens, especially the heathens that are ruling. And we definitely need help from this Edomite. Just look at the community of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Hey, broken families, single parent households with the single mothers. The women are whores. The men are gangbangers or sodomites. We've got this rap and hip hop culture pushed onto us. Poisonous, unlawful foods pushed onto us. Hey, there used to be those Planned Parenthoods advocating for our women to delete their children. The list goes on. It can all be tied back to these Edomites pushing this on us. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Hey, the whole world languisheth, and the earth perisheth under the rulership of this Edomite. Because again, it's out of course due to this Edomite ruling this planet, not under the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And if this Edomite were allowed to rule indefinitely, this planet would become a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 22. And except those days should be shortened, no flesh should be saved. Point blank, period. If the Most High didn't shorten these days and didn't set up bounds which this Edomite could not pass, a certain amount of time that he was only allowed to rule for, no flesh would be saved. Hey, these chemicals breaking down people's DNAs and destroying them, the chemtrails, the pollution, the GMO foods, the cell or the Wi-Fi radiation, or this Edomite just using those nukes, which those nukes will be used during World War III, but hey, just continually going to use them to just kill everybody off and make this planet uninhabitable. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Again, the Most High has set up bounds which this Edomite cannot pass, and have shortened the days, especially in these last days of his rulership. And we're just about at the time where this Edomite's going to be taken out of power, and the rightful rulers of the planet, the children of Israel, are going to be set back in power, who are going to rule the planet under the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and the planet's going to go back to being like the Garden of Eden, but this time even better, and for eternity. But now let's get into this article and some other information to show how the earth has been turned out of course, and it's languishing and defiling and being defiled under the rulership of the wicked. this Edomite. Again, chemical found in widely used sweetener breaks up DNA and was published on March 31st of 2023 this year. A new study finds a chemical formed when we digest a widely used sweetener is genotoxic, meaning it breaks up DNA. The chemical is also found in trace amounts in the sweetener itself, and the finding raises questions about how the sweetener may contribute to health problems. Hey, the haughty people of the earth do languish. They get weak, grow feeble. At issue is sucralose, a widely used artificial sweetener. Previous work by the same research team established that several fat-soluble compounds are produced in the gut after sucralose ingestion. One of these compounds is sucralose 6 acetate. Our new work establishes that sucralose 6 acetate is genotoxic. We also found that trace amounts of sucralose 6 acetate can be found in off-the-shelf sucralose, even before it is consumed and metabolized. And this was said by Suzanne Schiffman, corresponding author of the study and adjunct professor in the Joint Department of Biomedical Engineering at North Carolina State University and University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Hey, so somebody from a reputable organization with a reputable reputation. To put this in context, the European Food Safety Authority has a threshold of toxicological concern for all genotoxic substances of 0.15 micrograms per person per day, Schiffman says. Our work suggests that the trace amounts of sucralose 6 acetate in a single sucralose sweetened drink exceed that threshold, and that's not even accounting for the amount of sucralose 6 acetate produced as metabolites after people consume sucralose. For the study, researchers conducted a series of in vitro experiments exposing human blood cells to sucralose 6 acetate and monitoring for markers of genotoxicity. In short, we found that sucralose 6 acetate is genotoxic and that it effectively broke up DNA in cells that were exposed to the chemical, Schiffman says. And at any other point in human history, has there been toxic, destructive chemicals like this produced? No. Even though these other heathens didn't follow after the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, they still had some sense of a higher power and tried to govern in relation to nature. But this Edomite just took things to a whole different level. This Edomite is a natural atheist, and he created this manufactured industrial society, beginning with the Industrial Revolution, which has just led to a whole host of issues, toxic chemicals and problems, destroying the people and destroying the planet. It's safe to say that this is the worst point in human history that humans and the planet have ever been through. The researchers also conducted in vitro tests that exposed human gut tissues to sucralose 6 acetate. Other studies have found that sucralose can adversely affect gut health, so we wanted to see what might be happening there, Schiffman says. When we exposed sucralose and sucralose 6 acetate to gut epithelial tissues, the tissue that lines your gut wall, we found that both chemicals cause leaky gut. Basically, that make the wall of the gut more permeable. The chemicals damage the tight junctions or interfaces where cells in the gut wall connect to each other. A leaky gut is problematic because it means that things that would normally be flushed out of the body in feces are instead leaking out of the gut and being absorbed into the bloodstream. Hey, again, the haughty people of the earth languishing. And what else? Hey, and except those days should be shortened, no flesh would be saved. People are being destroyed out here from the inside out, as well as mentally by all the wicked practices of this Edomite. The researchers also looked at the genetic activity of the gut cells to see how they responded to the presence of sucralose 6 acetate. We found that gut cells exposed to sucralose 6 acetate had increased activity in genes related to oxidative stress, inflammation, and carcinogenicity, Schiffman says. The work raises a host of concerns about the potential health effects associated with sucralose and its metabolites. It's time to revisit the safety and regulatory status of sucralose because the evidence is mounting that it carries significant risks. If nothing else, I encourage people to avoid products containing sucralose. It's something you should not be eating. And I've got another article to show just some of the products out there for everyday use that contain sucralose. And this is on eatthis.com. And as it says right there, it was fact-checked by Jordan Powers Willard. Hey, so even though we don't really put too much stake in Snopes or these fact checkers, if you have stake in that, you can see that this article is fact-checked by it. And as we saw in the previous article, you have reputable sources doing studies showing the devastating effects of sucralose on the human body. What is sucralose and why it's in your food? While this sweetener is FDA approved, which the EPA and the FDA, they don't do things for the betterment of society, the environment, or humanity. They do things for the betterment to fill the pockets of their corporate interests. It's also a controversial item for several reasons. And this article was published on June 1st, 2023. But I'm going to go to what products contain sucralose. Which products contain this artificial sweetener? Sucralose is readily available in many prepackaged items on store shelves. And in the United States of America, this is the worst place for buying food products because there's really no regulations on things here. So they have all these destructive chemicals and things like that in it. Just look at, say, a bottle of Heinz ketchup in America. Look at the the ingredients list in it compared to the same bottle over in a European country. You'll see all these different chemicals with scientific names, while more often than not, when you look at the European or other country counterpart, it simply says sugar, tomatoes, salt, vinegar, and stuff like that. Sucralose is readily available in many prepackaged items on store shelves. And lest we forget, a lot of these plastic containers that these foods come in contain bisphenol A, which contains phytoestrogens, and also toxic petroleum-based ingredients which further break down the body. And those phytoestrogens are known to make men more feminine and soft and emotional out here, filling them with estrogens. And also with this widely used plastic out here, which plastic was created by these Edomites, it's led to something called microplastics, which look that up. There's so many microplastics out here that everybody is absorbing it. Animals are absorbing it, the environment, and that is also something that causes people's DNA to break down at a genetic level. Sucralose is readily available in many prepackaged items on store shelves. Since this artificial sweetener is very stable, it is found in various food and drink items. These products include diet sodas, chewing gum, sugar-free gelatin, salad dressings, maple syrup alternatives, flavored coffee syrups, barbecue sauces, sugar-free jams and fruit spreads, baked goods, sugar-free candy, frozen desserts, condiments labeled sugar-free or low-calorie, and ain't that supposed to be more healthy, most often contain sucralose. There you go. Splendor right there. And do a little, here's a little homework. Go into your cabinets or your fridge and see how many items you have that contain sucralose. And this is these items listed is damn near everyday commodities that people have in need. So we definitely need a help and saving from a higher power from this Edomite, from the wicked. Because again, if he was allowed to rule indefinitely, no flesh would be saved. But now I'm going to go into my second bit of information, just further showing the diabolical and destructive practices of this Edomite on this planet. And this is an article from theguardian.com. Societal cost of forever chemicals, about 17.5 trillion across global economy. And this article was published on May 12th of 2023. So these are all very recent articles. But again, societal cost of forever chemicals, about 17.5 trillion across global economy. And what the U.S. is supposedly in 17 to 18 trillion dollars worth of debt. Says report, chemicals yield profit of about 4 billion a year for the world's biggest PFAS manufacturers, Sweden-based NGO found. The societal cost of using toxic PFAS or forever chemicals across the global economy totals about 17.5 trillion annually. A new analysis of the use of the dangerous compounds has found. Meanwhile, the chemicals yield comparatively paltry profits for the world's largest PFAS manufacturers, about 4 billion annually. And here's another article to the side that says toxic forever chemicals found in toilet paper around the world. Hey, so you can't even wipe your ass in peace. The report compiled by Chemsec, a Sweden-based NGO that works with industry and policymakers to limit the use of toxic chemicals, partially aims to highlight how the astronomical cost of using PFAS is shouldered by governments, typically forced to fund the cleanup of pollution and individuals who suffer from health consequences. If you compare the profits that they make and the cost to society, it's ridiculous, said Peter Pierrot, Chemsec's communications director. PFAS are a class of about 15,000 chemicals often used to make products resistant to water, stains, and heat. The chemicals are ubiquitous and linked at low levels of exposure to cancer. And what did it say about sucralose in that last article? That it had high carcinogenicity, thyroid disease, kidney dysfunction, birth defects, autoimmune disease, and other serious health problems. They are called forever chemicals because they do not naturally degrade. The chemicals are thought to be contaminating drinking water for at least 200 million Americans, while watchdogs have identified thousands of industrial polluters. Similar widespread contamination persists throughout Europe. Chemsec found 12 companies that account for most of the world's PFAS production and pollution. Among them are 3M, an Edomite-owned company, Chemours, another Edomite company, Solvay, the same, Daikin, which is a Japanese company, Honeywell, Edomite, BASF, Edomite, Merck & Bayer, Edomite, etc., etc. So the main culprits of all these issues are what? Edomites. And when you go to Ecclesiasticus or Sirach chapter 10 in the Apocrypha, it says, as the ruler of the people are, roughly paraphrasing, so are the subjects. So these other heathen nations out here that are doing the same things the Edomites are doing are just simply following after the leader. They see that the Edomite has become successful through his practices, so they think that they can become successful as well, following the very same destructive practices. But when the children of Israel are back in power in the kingdom, ruling under the law, statutes, and commandments, these heathens are going to follow after the leader. But the only difference is they're going to be following after the ways of righteousness, which is going to lead to this planet being rejuvenated, refreshed, everything being in its right order. Though 3M this year announced it would discontinue making PFAS in part because of regulatory pressure and litigation, the report grew out of Chemsec's work with investment firms to pressure companies to eliminate PFAS, Pierrot said. A letter on the issue circulated late last year and now signed by largely European Union investment firms holding $11 trillion in assets cites recent litigation brought against PFAS manufacturers, ever-increasing regulation that imposes strict limits on the chemicals' use and the compound's public health threat. Investors have raised questions about companies' PFAS production and uses, Peru added, but industry often tries to keep information around the chemicals from public view as it attempts to evade account or protect trade secrets. So instead of caring about the environment and the people, they care about their pockets and profits. There is low transparency and there is so much we don't know, Peru said. Investment firms have the power to ask these questions because they own part of the company, so they have the right to ask what's going on here. The analysis broke down societal costs into 4 categories. Soil and water remediation are the most expensive, followed by healthcare costs and biomonitoring of PFAS pollution. While the average market price of PFAS is about, I believe that's E for euros, 19 euros, about $20.75 for each kilogram, the price spikes to 18,734 euros or $20,456.78 for each kilogram when societal costs are factored in. Hey, just another example of this complete madness under this mad rule by this mad ruler, Esau Edom. But like I said earlier in the video, hey, there's a silver lining to everything. The Most High only set up this Edomite to rule for a little season, and he's just about to reach those bounds which he cannot pass, and he's about to be taken out of power and then permanently dealt with. Now I'm going to go to Isaiah chapter 14. I'm going to start at verse 5. Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked, and we should know who the wicked is by now, according to Job 9 verse 24 and Malachi 1 verse 4, and the scepter of the rulers, these Edomites being taken out of power. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, hey, with sucralose destroying people's DNA out here, PFASs are forever chemicals destroying the environment and people. He who ruled the nations in anger, colonialism, overthrowing sovereign leaders to set up puppets so he can grape that nation of its resources and push his destructive philosophies like democracy and feminism on the people, dropping atomic bombs on people, is persecuted and none hindereth. Esau being taken out of power and put into his rightful place, into slavery. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yeah, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. Not only are the people going to rejoice because they're going to be under a righteous rulership, under the laws, statutes, and commandments, but nature is going to rejoice as well because there's going to be no more chemtrails, pollution, lands getting strip mined of their resources, or animals getting hunted to extinction. And for the first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven, all heathens are going to go into slavery. But after that first 1,000 years, these other heathens are going to be allowed to go back to their lands and live in peace, though they're still going to be under the subjection of the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai through the Israelites. And if they get out of line, they're going to be punished accordingly. But they won't want to get out of line because they're going to have clean air, clean water, clean food, and a family structure with the man at the head and the women and the children in order underneath them. As it says, he who ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. Nobody's going to be concerned when this Edomite is finally taken out of power, and they're going to finally live at peace. No more pedophiles, alphabet people, anything like that. Hey, but after that first 1,000 years, as for you Edomites, every single Edomite man, woman, and child is going to be gathered up and permanently culled from this planet by fire. I'm going to close it out in Revelation chapter 11, verse 18. And the nations were angry, the heathen nations, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged. And these heathen nations are dead. because they're dead spiritually. They follow after the ways of wickedness and not after the ways of righteousness and the laws, statutes, and commandments. As it says, and I believe Proverbs 21, verse 16, those that wander out of the way of understanding are in the congregation of the dead. And they're going to be judged, beginning with these calamities of Jacob's trouble, those nukes being shot to the ends of the earth during World War III, and them going into slavery for that first 1,000 years of the kingdom of heaven. And that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, the elect of the nation of Israel, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the elect, who are spending this time of grace and liberty right now to get back into the good graces of their power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, so they can be saved from those calamities of Jacob's trouble and receive their reward, being the first fruits in the kingdom of heaven, the first to have a rule, dominion, and dibs over everything, including you heathens on the planet. And here's the main point: and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth, destroy the wicked, whom the earth has been given into the hands of. In Job 9, verse 24, the border of wickedness, Esau, Edom, who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke and ruled the people in great anger. Let's actually get one more precept. Because like I said, after that first 1,000 years, every single Edomite man, woman, and child is going to be permanently culled from this planet with fire. Now it's wanting to be stupid. But this is the book of Obadiah. I'm going to jump down to verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire. And that's speaking of the southern kingdom, or the so-called Negroes. And the house of Joseph a flame, the northern kingdom, or the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, all 12 tribes, beginning with the elect, back together, ruling in the kingdom of heaven. And when you read the whole book of Obadiah, it's a book specifically dedicated to you Edomites and the punishment for the wickedness you've been committing, especially in transgressing the brotherly covenant and going against your brother Israel. And the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh hath spoken it. So again, once the time comes after that first 1,000 years, there's going to be a big Basra bonfire, and there will not be one Edomite left on the planet Earth. And hey, it's going to be a great nightmare that this planet and the people on it finally woke up from. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.